Once upon a time, builders were hampered by complexity, burdened by risk, and faced tough trade-offs between sophistication and speed. Doing something great was a monumental task, riddled with problems and setbacks. Today, builders like you are on the brink of something big. With your skills and vision, you're shaping the future. You're driving innovation, building better products faster. You're pushing the boundaries with nothing holding you back. And Snowflake is by your side. We're eliminating complexity and risk to give you the cutting edge. Never before has it been this easy to be this bold. Welcome to Build.
Please welcome Snowflake CEO, Sridhar Ramaswamy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Build. As a developer at heart, I really look forward to this event. These next few days, we are focused on you, our builders, who are driving innovation and getting jobs done for organizations and startups across every industry around the world. And just like you, I love building things and solving problems. In fact, I recently wanted to write a script to remind me weekly which friends to get in touch with. And I used AppScript, Google's Gemini, and a spreadsheet to get this done. It was so much fun. So I feel a big connection to this community. And I want to thank you for being such a foundational part of our Snowflake ecosystem and for joining us today. We built the AI Data Cloud to make it easy for builders like you to innovate, develop, and scale. Today, the AI Data Cloud supports over 10,000 customers across every industry and geography imaginable, from large financial institutions like Capital One to startups like Relational AI, who literally have bet their company on Snowflake's platform. But the scale of the platform doesn't stop there. We are proud to support over 750,000 developers. And across our platforms, we see 5+ billion jobs run on a daily basis. That's a lot of people running and counting on Snowflake. And we keep reliability at the highest standards, 4 nines of SLA. And as data and AI are increasingly in the spotlight for companies today, a solid data foundation has never been more critical. However, so many companies struggle to deliver quality data and AI initiatives because their data infrastructure just can't keep up. Data infrastructure today can be like an old city's road network. It starts with a few simple paths, but over time, new routes get added without a clear plan. Suddenly, you have a web of winding streets, alleys, dead ends, Boston, anyone, that make it difficult to find a direct path from one place to another. And some companies optimize for the short term and build departmental data marts. This leads to siloed and fragmented information. When you need a unified source of truth, the approach just does not hold up. Unmanaged data lakes and lakehouses can look promising, but the engineering overhead required to integrate different data sources is intensive, and security and governance problems pile up very quickly. We want to remove these challenges to enable a strong data and AI foundation that's easy to navigate. Our approach to deliver an enterprise-ready data and AI platform is grounded in 3 things. Number 1, collaboration. We know that every enterprise needs to collaborate, sometimes cross-cloud, to get the information that they need. We make data sharing and collaboration seamless without the need for data movement or integrations. Number 2, governance. We build governance in from the start to ensure optimized and legit use of data and AI for all users and applications. Number 3, extensibility. We ensure your projects will succeed with extensible data and models to give you complete flexibility. That said, we are not just focused on what we deliver. We care just as much about how. At Snowflake, we want to fight for our customer success. We put our customers' need first at every step of the way in what we build. We make it easy for builders like you by delivering a single unified platform with automation to reduce complexity. With Snowflake, we want to make sure that when you use it, it just works. And finally, we are interoperable. We want to serve as an open and integrated partner with your enterprise ecosystem of data, applications, as well as services. Ultimately, Snowflake delivers a unified platform that makes data and AI easy, efficient, and trustworthy. And as you have seen from efforts this year, AI is in focus, and we have already seen incredible progress with Cortex. You're all building and deploying some amazing and creative AI applications. And we're excited to keep the momentum going. We want you to unlock the full potential of enterprise data with AI agents that empower business teams to turn raw information, whether it is structured or unstructured, into data-driven actions. And today, we'll announce several new innovations that will extend what you can deliver with your data. And so, without further delay, let me introduce our Chief Product Officer, Christian Kleinerman. Thank you all. Christian.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us at Build. We are streaming live from California, and I'll join Sridhar and the rest of us at Snowflake in saying, welcome to Build. We have a number of exciting product updates and announcements for you today. We have 3 chapters in our keynote. First one is around data and architecture on your terms. Second one is on AI and ML in a way that you can trust. And the third chapter of our conversation today is around unmatched collaboration for data, for AI, and for applications. So let's get started. Let's dive into data and architecture on your terms. Very important for us is to deliver the architecture, the data architecture of your choice without trade-offs. Our founders started with no trade-offs between the traditional data warehouse model and big data model. Sridhar already mentioned over 5 billion queries running every single day. Pretty impressive. But if you want to implement an enterprise lakehouse, we also enable you to do so without trade-offs, without having to have a high burden and operational cost. We have been fully serverless for over 10 years. Since Snowflake started, all serverless to simplify the compute model for you. Of course, we have the option to be open, interoperable with other engines, and the amount of Iceberg data available to Snowflake is growing at a very fast clip, over 100% quarter over quarter. But the enterprise lakehouse may be limited for some of the use cases that you have. Maybe you're dealing with data residency or data locality. Maybe you're implementing a multi-region or multi-cloud architecture. You want to decentralize domain ownership. And our goal is to enable that architecture as well. You can have an enterprise mesh, again, without trade-offs, and we see collaboration between teams. We see over 2,000 data products. So before we go into our announcements of the day, I would want you to hear from one of our customers that is joining us live here at Build. Nima, good morning.
Hello, great to be with you, Christian. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for joining us. So Nima Raphael at Goldman Sachs, you're live from New York. Why don't you give us a quick introduction about yourself and your role?
Hi, yeah, thanks. Again, I'm excited to be at Build. Great event. Nima Raphael, I run the data engineering team at Goldman Sachs. We do all data lifecycle across the enterprise for Goldman Sachs. So we work with every single line of business across to do data engineering and data management work here at GS.
That's awesome. You've been a thought leader on this notion of an enterprise lakehouse. Can you tell us more how you think about that architectural pattern?
Yeah, absolutely. Christian, you and I have talked a lot about this, but we're all in on sort of the lakehouse architecture. It's a big part of our strategy for data analytics at Goldman. Our whole foundational strategy is built on that architecture. And for us, it all starts with interoperability. That's the key to having the lakehouse. But on top of that, of course, we need really important foundational pieces to make that work. And the two we always talk about are great engines that give us great price performance on top of that data substrate, and as well as the governance, data access controls, and data quality built in from the beginning as a first-class piece of that architecture as well.
How have you approached, so you have clarity on what you want to implement, how have you approached that implementation?
Yeah, so the first thing we did is make sure that the lakehouse sort of will nail our functional and non-functional requirements. We always talk at Goldman that we're not a web scale data shop, we're a medium scale, but highly complex and highly varied data shop. And so the first thing we really needed to understand is, will this data substrate, this data fabric, actually be able to nail all our functional and non-functional requirements? And then what engines could we build on top that give us exactly the right price performance and openness and interoperability on top of that substrate? And then the last layer is to make sure that we're building with the governance in mind. So an open catalog and an open spec catalog is really, really important for us to ensure that the whole thing is wrapped up in the enterprise that we expect.
Yeah, we're very aligned with that perspective. At Snowflake, we're building the AI data cloud, and a key element of it is collaboration. And I think you're also deep into collaboration and data sharing is important. How has that affected or impacted the business at Goldman Sachs?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we are a data engineering team for the whole enterprise, for the whole company. So actually, data sharing is critical and collaboration is critical on this platform, but more importantly is safe and governed sharing. And that's one of the biggest reasons we built and open sourced our data platform at Goldman. It's called Legend. It's on GitHub. You could go check it out. It's totally free and open. But the point of Legend was to give collaboration a first-class citizen in our data platform, and it works seamlessly with all the Snowflake constructs built in.
Yeah, so I love the clarity and vision that you bring to your role and to empower Goldman Sachs with data. And Nima, sincerely, thank you so much for being with us today at Build.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for the rest of the agenda.
Sounds great. We'll be in touch soon. Thank you.
All right.
Let's give it up for... That gives you an idea of how Snowflake customers are leveraging our technology to implement data architecture and the design that they think is strategic for their business and for their priorities. Our goal is to help you implement that architecture without trade-offs. Our focus is on ease of use and simplicity. We have a single engine, lets you do streaming, AI and ML. We'll have a whole chapter on all of that. Of course, analytics, of course, sharing, and of course, building applications on Snowflake. Very important for us is Snowflake has the capability to help you operate on any type of data, whether it's raw, refined, or trusted, also known as bronze, silver, gold. Our priority is to help you manage data and get value of data across its life cycle. And of course, some of you may say, I want to do that, but I want to do it with open formats. And our goal, again, is give you choice. We have fully embraced Apache Iceberg as the table format, Parquet as the file format, and we are committed to enabling engine interoperability. But when we introduced Iceberg tables in Snowflake, one of the first things that we heard was, we want this to work really well with all the other features and great capabilities of Snowflake. High on that list was the ability to do streaming. And there are two specific capabilities. One is Snowpipe streaming, where you can now stream data into a managed Iceberg table, and also dynamic tables, where you'll be able to read from an Iceberg table and also have the materialization happen into an Iceberg table. So think about it. You can take data that is on the lake, read it, process it, transform it with Snowflake, and have it be saved back. And these two capabilities, support for streaming for Apache Iceberg, are generally available today. When we introduced Iceberg tables, our entire motivation was around interoperability. But then, very quickly, we realized that having open file formats, open table formats, was not sufficient. That's when we said the catalog that you use to discover those tables is a key part of that interoperability. We created the Polaris catalog. It's a technical catalog based on Apache Iceberg REST APIs. And the belief that we have deep at Snowflake is that we definitely want to embrace the openness, the interoperability, and as part of that, we said, you know what? The catalog itself should also be open. That is why we donated the Polaris catalog to the Apache Software Foundation. This is now known as the Apache Polaris Project. It's currently undergoing incubation. And very important to all of you is this project is now being steered by a number of industry leaders, not just by Snowflake. We have opinions, but where it goes is a collection of industry leaders that will help you ensure that openness and interoperability. With Apache Polaris being an open source project, now you have choice on how you leverage it. You can host it yourself if you wish to, but we also have a Snowflake managed version of the Apache Polaris, and this is what we now call the Snowflake Open Catalog. And we are thrilled to share with all of you today that the Snowflake Open Catalog is now generally available. But over the years, we've given you capabilities and choice on how you store data in Snowflake. Many of you are leveraging Snowflake managed storage. And you may choose where in the spectrum you want to have some data that is open and interoperable, and maybe some data that is in storage managed by Snowflake. And you can go all on one end, all on the other end. Again, our choice and our priority is to give you choice. But the most important thing is many of you that have said, help me with the storage, help me offload the responsibilities of managing infrastructure, and help me focus on my data and my analytics and the value to the business, you've asked us as part of that for additional storage controls. And as part of that, today we are thrilled to introduce what we call storage lifecycle policies. These are policies that can be applied to one or more tables, and you specify a condition by which records will be expired out of that storage. Optionally, you can also specify archival policies so that records can be either completely deleted or sent to archival storage, and maybe at a later period of time deleted. These two capabilities, storage lifecycle policies, are now in private preview. But it's not just about structured data. Unstructured data has been a capability for all of us at Snowflake. More than 40% of our customers are leveraging it, and we're in a day and age where AI has changed the amount of effort that is required to get value out of unstructured data, making it dramatically easier. That's why we introduced Document AI, a very simple AI-powered capability that lets you ask questions in natural language to extract properties and get answers from documents. Today, we're excited to announce that Document AI is generally available. But also, we have integrated it with our copy command, so you can point Snowflake to a series of documents and have them be ingested into Snowflake, but as part of the ingestion, you run the Document AI model and get the structured data on the other side. Support for structured data for unstructured data is not sufficient for you to have a great data foundation. Governance is a key priority of getting there to that strong data foundation. And this is where the Snowflake Horizon catalog fits in. We have plenty of capabilities that help you manage data, help you govern data, and we continue to innovate across these 5 pillars. Let me share some new updates across the 5 pillars. Starting with compliance, our goal is to make it easier for you to comply. We have a new lineage visualization user interface. We have updated our ability to classify data, to identify sensitive data, or PII, to be automatic as data is being modified or ingested into Snowflake. We also have continued to enhance our data quality capabilities, so you can do bad record detection. So if a data quality check is failed by a few rows, we will help you identify which rows those are. And all these capabilities are now in public preview. On the security front, we are now very clear that we want to give you great capabilities and controls, but we also want to help you make great use of those capabilities and controls so that you are always protected. We have a host of new updates to Snowflake. We're enabling MFA for new accounts. We have a new leaked password protection, so we will monitor credentials, and if we see they're leaked, we'll alert you and help you take action. We're introducing programmatic access tokens so that service accounts or applications can log into Snowflake without having to be pushing back and forth credentials and passwords. And last, we also have extensibility into Trust Center. Trust Center is this experience where we give you visibility, alerts, and controls on what's happening in Snowflake, and we are now enabling many of our wonderful partners to extend it via native apps. On the security front, we introduced a year or so ago differential privacy, the ability to add noise into a data set so that specific individual records cannot be identified, but the data retains analytical value, analytical power. Differential privacy is now generally available. We're also today introducing synthetic data generation. This has the ability to create substitutes data sets modeled on real data, and you can have multiple tables, and we'll model things like join keys, and has shared characteristics with the data, so you can have, again, analytics and value of the data, but it's not the real data. And on the discovery front, one of the key capabilities that we've heard over the years is a request from us on how do I discover data that other people in the organization may not know is available or may not have access to. One of the common reasons why companies copy data or duplicate work is because they don't know some other part of the organization did this work. So today we're also sharing or introducing a new policy that enables objects to be discovered by users who do not have access. We're also enabling the annotation of contact metadata for a specific data set. So now you can say, I search, I find data, and if I don't have access, I know who to contact to get access. All of these capabilities are now in public preview. At the end, we are committed to helping you all manage and govern your data. We want to make it very clear to all of you where our technology is open source, which is what you see with the Snowflake Open Catalog based on Apache Polaris, and where you have the capabilities that are specific to Snowflake, which is the Horizon Catalog. And of course, we have great interoperability between the two. Since I went fast through a lot of content, I think the best way to understand this is to go through a demo where we will look at how we do streaming and governance on an enterprise lakehouse. And for that, I want to introduce or welcome Palida Paulus to the stage, and I have Dash Desai already here. Let's welcome Palida.
For the data engineers out there, who has been stuck spending way too much time figuring out how many cores, executors, and memory you need, updating software versions and dependencies, and all you really want is for your data pipelines to be clean, on time, and governed? It shouldn't be complicated, right? With Snowflake, it's easy. What I'm about to show you is how Snowflake allows you to do data engineering in an enterprise lakehouse in a way that just works. You can use Snowflake for streaming directly into Iceberg, automating CDC pipelines on top of Iceberg, and governing Iceberg tables across engines with role-based access controls. In this demo, Dash and I are data engineers for a large car manufacturing company. We're tasked with making car telemetry available for real-time analytics and predicting problems before they happen. From the time it's produced, we need data to be ready for analytics within 1 to 2 minutes. In our company, there are a lot of people using a lot of different tools. And so we store this data in a data lake in an open table format. And whichever engine is being used to access the data, we need to make sure that our employees have just the access that they need and not more. We want to give our engineers access to the raw data, and we want to give our analysts access to just the cleaned data. So let's start with the streaming pipeline. Here's my Java application that simulates 10 vehicle events every second, inserting records into the Iceberg table every 2 seconds. Let's run the script and simulate events streaming into Iceberg. Excellent. With those records streaming in, Dash, let's switch over to Snowflake and select the table a few times so we can see the row count going up. Great. OK, remember, all of this is stored in an Iceberg format. Dash, can you switch over to your S3 bucket? You can see that Snowflake is writing new Iceberg snapshot files as more and more records are streamed in. And check this out. Instead of streaming into Snowflake tables, Dash and I could stream into Iceberg tables with one property. That's it. And Snowpipe streaming is writing directly to Iceberg. And this is now GA. Now that the car telemetry data is streaming into Iceberg, I need to transform this data into structures that our analysts can use in our refined or silver layer. Typically, to build CDC pipelines with other tools, I have to spell out every step. First, identify new records, then figure out how to represent updated and deleted records, and make sure all the processing for each step doesn't take longer than 2 minutes. This is way easier with Snowflake's dynamic tables, which now support Iceberg in GA this week. I can read Iceberg Snowflake managed tables, like the one we just saw, transform them, and write them in Iceberg format. All I have to do is create the query of what I want the end state to look like, when I need the results by, and Snowflake takes care of the complexity. It figures out when to kick off pipelines to meet the target lag that I specified. This particular example creates a table for a slowly changing dimension type 2. SCD type 2 allows you to efficiently keep a history of changes to a dimension, like vehicle ID, but the logic can be tricky. I had this dynamic table running, so you can see a history. And in this view, you can see how frequently Snowflake is meeting my target lag of less than 1 minute and the number of records processed. So I know processing is incremental and efficient, not completely rewriting the table every time. OK, this is great. I can string together multiple tables, and I can even see a bird's eye view of the pipeline end to end. So now the last step is to set the right permissions on the data so that we can enforce our RBAC no matter which query engine is used to read it. This is the key benefit of using Snowflake Open Catalog, Snowflake's fully managed service for Apache Polaris, which is now GA. I'm able to set table-level access controls that are respected no matter which query engine is used to access the data. If we go back to the Snowflake notebook with the SCD2 table definition, notice I've specified for it to sync to my catalog integration so that these tables will automatically show up in Snowflake Open Catalog. Dash, let's hop over to Snowflake Open Catalog. On the left, you can see all of the Iceberg tables, the ones we were streaming into the raw zone, and the dynamic Iceberg tables in our refined zone. So I mentioned in the beginning that this data needs to be governed. Analysts in my company shouldn't need access to the raw streaming data. They just need access to some tables. Dash, let's look at the roles for Snowflake Catalog, and let's look at Table Reader All. Here you can see for the Spark engineer role, I've assigned Table Reader All, which means that engineers can see all the namespaces and read all the tables in the catalog. And for the Spark analyst role, I've assigned Table Reader Refined. And that way, analysts have a more limited view and can only read the refined tables. With these access controls set up, let's hop over to VS Code, where we have Spark running in a notebook. In this notebook, we'll connect to Snowflake Open Catalog as an Iceberg REST catalog. Now let's just check to make sure that we can see the same tables that we saw in the UI. Perfect. Let's query those tables and see what we get back. Excellent. Now let's use Spark again, and this time we're going to connect as an analyst. Notice when Dash runs the same select statement on the raw streaming table, he gets an error with a message saying that this role doesn't have access to read the table, which is exactly what we want, because our analysts shouldn't need to read the raw data. But if Dash queries one of the tables from the refined zone, like the SCD2 example we showed earlier, he can see it. Perfect. This combination of governance and interoperability is going to enable so many teams in my company to use this data with their tool of choice. So let's recap what you just saw. In under 10 minutes, I was able to use Snowpipe streaming to stream data directly to Iceberg for real-time analytics. I have CDC pipelines running automatically, keeping Iceberg tables fresh. And I made all of these Iceberg tables available for any team that needs to use it with their tool of choice. And it's all secure with role-based access controls. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. If your organization uses Apache Iceberg or are considering it, please join the dedicated session starting just after this keynote. Thanks, Dash. And back to you, Christian.
It's pretty impressive how simple we've made it to do streaming, governance, and interoperability for an open lakehouse with enterprise capabilities. Let's switch now to chapter number 2, which is where we talk about enterprise AI and ML. And our focus is to give you a platform where you can do AI and ML in a way that you can trust. But AI and ML is no longer just a conversation of what should we do, what are we going to do. Organizations are putting AI into production, and you see on the screen some of the logos that are leveraging Snowflake for AI, for advancing the business, for driving productivity. We have hundreds of use cases deployed on Snowflake AI with Cortex, and we prepared a short video for you to hear from some of our customers. Let's roll the video.
With the Snowflake AI Data Cloud, we were really able to democratize data and to build apps easily. The first use case is about those roughly 800,000 pages that we now read automatically or make them chattable. The purpose of this one was really to help those PhDs to find relevant information for design changes, cost changes. So this chatbot is now, instead of providing very detailed knowledge about something, now this chatbot is used for a global thing, empowering people, training people. And the benefit, of course, using Snowflake is that we manage all our data and apply AI with Cortex. And then last not least, there is the user interface powered by Streamlit. I literally was surprised how easy it is. Our first chatbot took us just a couple of weeks to make that happen. And this was amazing.
With the speed and security of Snowflake's AI Data Cloud, it becomes easy for us to build enterprise-grade AI applications for everybody at Zoom. A lot of these business stakeholders are coming to data scientists and analysts to get insights on their customers, get insights from the data. And so that creates a little bit of friction where you don't have the right data at the right time for making decisions faster. With Snowflake's Cortex and Streamlit, I was able to bring in a pre-trained large language model to our data and be able to create the proof of concept within days, where now you can chat with your data in natural language.
So Snowflake has enabled eCentire to implement enterprise AI strategies, and we've been able to do that at scale using the privacy and governance features in ways that would have been very cost prohibitive for us to implement on the other platforms we had been using. But now we can inherently use the controls of the Snowflake platform and be able to trust that the way that our Gen AI is accessing data adheres to their governance and privacy controls.
I love hearing how customers are advancing their businesses with AI. When we speak about data science or even data engineering in general, probably the single most requested capability we've gotten over the years is notebooks. And we introduced earlier in the year a Snowflake notebook. Beautiful capabilities, different types of cells, SQL, Python, scheduling. We've now even published onto our Solution Center that just got a rebrand, a redo this week, dozens of published notebooks to accelerate your time to value. We have thousands of users leveraging notebooks in public preview. And the number one thing we hear right now is, when can we make it generally available? Last Friday, the team looked at all the launch criteria, and we're very, very excited to share with all of you that Snowflake notebooks are now generally available. Yeah, we're extremely excited. They're available on all three clouds, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. And also, we introduced a container-based runtime that will give you even further flexibility that is in public preview and will drive towards general availability in the next few weeks. But Snowflake overall is a single platform that lets you leverage the power of generative AI as well as the traditional predictive machine learning. And we have use cases for both ML and AI. But today, we're very, very excited to share with all of you that we're bringing capabilities on observability for both AI as well as ML. Let's look into it in more detail. Starting with machine learning. We've had lots of generally available features. The feature store is out, the model registry is out. We introduced in public preview partition model training and inference. We introduced in public preview model lineage visualization. And today, we're also enhancing the capability to take a model from the model registry and deploy it on a Snowpark Container Services service. We'll take the container, the model, the dependencies, and make it easier for you to have it ready for inference. We're also introducing today a new distributed modeling API in public preview where you can have distributed versions of PyTorch, XGBoost, LightGBM for you to train models. But in the topic of understanding how things behave when they're deployed, we're also introducing explainability. We're tied to the model registry. You'll be able to understand the impact of input values into a specific prediction, into a specific inference. We're also introducing today built-in observability for any inference that is happening in Snowflake. You will be able to track the performance of a model, be able to track drifts, get alerts, understand thresholds, and all of this is now in public preview. But we're also bringing capabilities to AI. Cortex AI has been on a very fast track of innovation and delivery. Serverless fine-tuning, which we introduced at Summit, is now generally available. Cortex Search is now generally available. And Cortex Analyst continues to increase the support of the types of queries and types of requests that it manages, multi-turn conversations or joins, and will be generally available soon. But today I want to call attention to something very important, very interesting, which is the expansion of our AI SQL support. Whereas Cortex LLM has had support for text-based operations, we're now broadening it to a longer list of data types, specifically unstructured types, and you will be able to ask questions about an image or an audio or a video clip. All of this native integrated with our SQL language. We're also excited to introduce today a new chat API, which bridges the Cortex Analyst and Cortex Search capability, but it also adds multi-index capabilities. What does that mean? Now I may have multiple search corpuses and have a single chat API that gives you a single chat experience. But the value of Cortex Search or the Cortex Chat API is tied to the data that is available. And when we think about the Snowflake AI Data Cloud, it's all about breaking down silos, and we want to simplify getting more data so that you can get value out of it. Usually, that's when we think about the Snowflake marketplace on how do I get access to additional data. And we have two announcements today. The first one is we're introducing a Snowflake connector for SharePoint. This will make it easy to point to a SharePoint instance and get documents that can be indexed and ranked and made ready available for Cortex Search. We are also introducing a new type of listing in the marketplace. We call them Cortex Knowledge Extensions, which will let you chat with unstructured data from third parties. Think news articles or research publications, scientific journals, textbooks. And Cortex Knowledge Extensions are the mechanism to do so, and it has a benefit for content owners where we can give clear attribution and, of course, a way to monetize that content. So if you're excited and curious or interested about this, we have another demo for you. And for that, I want to invite onto the stage Sri Chintala and Dash. You're always here in my back. Sri, come on in.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm stepping into the role of a developer at an automotive company. Our analyst teams are constantly getting pulled into a doc request. So with Dash's help, we've built a conversational chat app using Snowflake's Cortex AI capabilities. In this demo, I'll show you just how easy it is to use this generative AI chat app directly in Slack, empowering our business teams to get timely and accurate answers without constantly needing support from the analyst teams. To achieve this, our chat app needs to be able to deliver on three things. First, it must pull insights from both structured and unstructured data while maintaining context across questions. Next, it should be able to enhance those insights by securely accessing relevant news from third-party sources. And finally, it must return accurate results. For this, I'll show you how we can easily observe responses from our app to minimize hallucinations. The best part, I'm able to do all of this by calling one single API, Snowflake's Chat API. All right, then let's dive in. So here, we're in Slack. For our first question, let's test the app's ability to calculate the average shipping time for one of our tire suppliers, Snow Tires. Dash, let's ask our assistant, what's the average shipping time for Snow Tires compared to other suppliers? To get this insight, all we needed to do was make a single API call to the Cortex Chat API. Behind the scenes, Chat API is leveraging Cortex Analyst and associated semantic data models to automatically generate and execute accurate SQL to answer our question. And it looks like, on an average, Snow Tires outperforms all other suppliers in our network. Excellent. Now let's see how the app handles a follow-up. Let's ask for the average shipping time for another supplier, Tire Pro. Cortex Chat API behind the scenes recognizes our follow-up question, retaining context from the previous interaction. It confirms that Tire Pro's shipping time is faster than average, but still slower than Snow Tires. This multi-turn interaction feature, now in public preview with Cortex Analyst, shows how our GenAI chat app can maintain context and provide clear, relevant, and accurate answers to our follow-up questions. Okay, so now let's test the app to see how it handles questions on unstructured data. But for this, first I'll need to pull in our contracts stored in SharePoint as PDFs. Typically, manually extracting and processing files from SharePoint would involve time-consuming tasks like scripting, handling file formats, and ensuring data consistency. I'm always concerned about errors and the time it takes to handle these mundane tasks. However, with the Snowflake connector for SharePoint, now available for free on the Snowflake Marketplace, it's super easy and straightforward. All I need to do is go to the listing, get the connector, provide my site URL, and SharePoint credentials, and that's it. All our folders and files are ready to use in Snowflake. The connector brings in files from SharePoint and creates a Cortex search service. Using the Cortex AI parse document function built on advanced OCR capabilities, it can extract insights from PDFs, Microsoft Word documents, and PowerPoint presentations. Cortex Search, which is a fully managed service, handles all the pre-processing work for me so I can skip the complex Python scripting for layout and content extraction, making my documents AI-ready with minimal effort. This solution works at scale for thousands of documents while maintaining both precision and relevance. Okay, Dash, now let's ask a question from one of our PDFs. What are the payment terms for snow tires? All right, as you can see, Cortex AI quickly finds that snow tires payment terms are net 60 days from invoice receipt. And even better, it identifies and flags that there's an additional charge if payment is delayed. Details that would have otherwise been buried in lengthy PDF documents. Despite having thousands of contracts, our assistant located the relevant one and pulled in key information from unstructured data. Pretty impressive, right? As you can see, I moved from structured data analytics to unstructured search all within my chat app. This is where the chat API really shines, seamlessly shifting from structured queries to digging into unstructured documents to find exactly what we need. And we're not stopping there. Valuable insights often lie in graphics, images, and other unstructured formats, and we're building solutions to unlock those too. Plus, we included a citation to the original document, giving our business users the transparency they need to trust the app's response. Okay, now we could stop right here, and these capabilities alone would save us developers and our end business users significant time. But let's take this one step further and enhance the chat experience by integrating expertise from external sources. For instance, an automotive news provider shared a Cortex knowledge extension that includes the latest on tire recycling practices. We add this Cortex search service that was shared with us and seamlessly integrated into our AI chat app, just like we did with SharePoint. So now our chat app can handle some really interesting questions. Let's try, what's the latest and most effective way to recycle rubber tires? If you think about it, it's incredible. We're asking the chat API to sift through thousands of documents filled with text, tables, and numbers. Behind the scenes, the chat API identifies our question and determines that it should be routed specifically to the Cortex search service, which contains information about the recycling practices. As you can see, in this case, our assistant not only answered the recycling question, but also demonstrated its ability to run a multi-index search, securely pulling expertise from premium gated sources to Cortex knowledge extensions. This provides a secure solution for developers like me to access premium content from trusted sources while allowing publishers to safely share their expertise and protect their intellectual property. And now, finally, to make our chat app production ready, I promised we'd have an ability to observe its responses. As our business users interact with the app, it's essential to monitor the responses to make sure the AI provides trustworthy answers and avoids hallucinations, as inaccurate responses could erode end-user trust. That's where tracing and evaluation features come in, allowing us to actively monitor and assess the performance of the responses delivered to our business users. Here in Snowsight, we can view a list of all the questions and responses from our AI application, along with key metrics like relevance of the answer, relevance of the retrieved results used to generate the answer, and whether the response is grounded in the retrieved context. As you can see, our question about the payment terms scored highly across all the metrics, giving us confidence that the model is providing accurate and complete information. These evaluation metrics enable us to continuously refine the performance of our GenAI application, ensuring a reliable user experience. All right, finally, to wrap up our demo, here are the 2 key takeaways. First, building GenAI assistants with Snowflake is super easy. With just a few API calls, we connected structured and unstructured data, both internal and external, from databases and SharePoint to the latest news, all within Snowflake with just a few lines of code. Second, AI observability makes it simple for me as a developer to productionize and manage trusted AI apps at scale, enabling continuous evaluation, troubleshooting, and optimization. And now we're super excited for you to try out these features yourself. I invite you to join our Rag and Roll Hackathon happening later in this event for a chance to compete for $10,000 in prizes, swag, and more. So hope to see you there. With that, thank you. Thanks, Dash, and back to you, Christian.
It's quite exciting what you can see, what you can build in very simple steps, and you just saw it live in a demo by Dash. But sometimes you may want to build more complex flows or multi-step workflows. And sometimes you may not want to just be writing code. And that is why today we're extremely, extremely excited to introduce Snowflake Intelligence. Snowflake Intelligence is a platform to create data agents. It's aimed primarily at business users, and it'll make it easy to analyze and to summarize data, whether it's structured or unstructured, and most important, take actions. That's where Sridhar started this morning. How do I take action on data? How do I have the ability to call APIs and have a responsive system? That is what Snowflake Intelligence does, and it requires no technical skills or coding knowledge. We're extremely excited about Snowflake Intelligence, and we'll be coming to preview in the next month or so. But now let's talk about the 3rd chapter of our journey today around collaboration. And when we started data sharing, which was an underpinning of the AI Data Cloud, one of the most common requests we got was, I like what you're doing on the marketplace and how I can collaborate with third parties. But how do I do that within my organization? Before I collaborate with others, I want to collaborate inside my organization. And your wish is our command. And that's why today we're excited to announce the general availability of the internal marketplace, which is very familiar to any of you that have looked at our Snowflake marketplace, is that it is focused on collaboration within your company, within your team. We make it easy and secure to collaborate, to list data, publish data. You can have usage examples, and you can, at the end of the day, consume data products built by others within your company. But we're also leveraging AI to help you browse the marketplace, whether internal or the Snowflake marketplace. And we're introducing a co-pilot for listings, where it'll help you understand the data in a listing. It'll simplify discovery of data products. And again, our big goal for us is to simplify collaboration and remove friction of doing so. But if you looked at our marketplace, usually many listings have this get button. And we have focused dramatically on how, with the click of one button, you can get an immediate value, an immediate data product to go and increase and improve your data capability. We continue to do investments both to improve the experience for data publishers and data product publishers, as well as consumers. And today we're introducing an egress cost optimizer, whereas collaboration oftentimes is cross-region and cross-cloud, and the reality of egress cost is real. As Snowflake's footprint has grown, collaborating globally has also made it more challenging from understanding egress perspective. So what we're doing is, for a listing, if you enable the egress cost optimizer, we will do a cache of the data or the native app will do the smart distribution. At the end of the day, when you get reduced egress charges. This will be very shortly in general availability. The other aspect of collaboration is it's not just about data. It's about applications. That's where we created the native apps framework to accelerate time to value for those trying to get new applications and for those trying to sell new applications. Richer and richer apps are being built, and probably the most important integration to enable those richer apps is the integration with Snowpark Container Services. And today, we're announcing the general availability of native apps with Snowpark Container Services in AWS and the public preview on Azure. At the same time, many of our wonderful, amazing partners are bringing to market, are GAing products. You see the logos on the list that leverage this capability, native apps with Snowpark Container Services. So when you get powerful apps to improve your data capability. Another new announcement for today is the ability to do sharing of AI and ML models. You can take now in a listing a model that you train with any of the APIs that I mentioned earlier, but also you can take a fine-tuned model from their fine-tuning Cortex API and also share it and make it available to others. Very important, we also enable the monetization of those models, which is part of what you want. If you have valuable IP, if you have valuable content, we want to simplify the delivery and monetization of that content. So when you get AI and ML collaboration, and this is now in public preview. At the end of the day, when you get collaboration is something that we focus on. And you'll see that many of the logos here on the screen are companies that are already collaborating with the AI Data Cloud. More and more organizations get it. Whether it's data, whether it's applications, whether it's AI. Across industries, our goal, our priority is to eliminate the friction of interchanging data products so that everyone in the ecosystem can get more value. We have one last announcement for all of you today. It's a couple of years ago that we introduced hybrid tables, the foundation of Unistore. Hybrid tables are a table type that unifies transactional and analytical data. You can do very low latency, fast reads and fast writes, and at the same time run a large analytical query on those tables, and you get the performance and concurrency that you expect. Use cases that we've seen is store state for a pipeline or store state for an application, which is an important part of native applications and collaboration. We have many customers that have chosen to not wait for this to be ready for production, and they're just using it. They found so much value. Here's a quote from Siemens. With Unistore and hybrid tables, we overcome concurrency challenges and improve data quality and consistency for our critical ERP replication process. And probably similar to what I said with our notebooks earlier, one of the most common pieces of feedback is, can you please get this to be generally available as soon as possible? And today we are extremely, extremely excited to say hybrid tables are now generally available on AWS. And this brings us to the end of this first session. We talked about data and architecture on your terms. We talked about enterprise AI and ML capabilities that you can trust. And we talked about unmatched collaboration for data, for AI, for applications. We hope you enjoyed the announcements, the capabilities that we've shared with you today. Build this 3 days, so please do not change the channel. We're just getting started. Thank you so much.